How's it going, everyone? And welcome to a part two of episode 615 of Yao Yao Excuses on yaoyao.com.
We're doing that still. Okay. Yeah, I already had a blackout,
Yeah,
For the
which is
listener, no
usually
time
my
has
trick.
passed.
well, for the
Once
list,
upon a time, the United States of America had the best infrastructure in the world.
and then Carter happened. Ugh. So yeah, it started raining, and this, of course, means that if you're on the border between civilization and rural Georgia, your power goes out.
That is kind of pathetic, to be honest.
Also familiar.
You are well and truly in the sticks. You're not on the border like I am.
No, I am way out.
You also have a Labour government.
Also, yes.
I will refrain from commenting on the nature of my government because I've been watching too much Boondocks lately.
You are a member
That's
of
probably for the
a
best
group.
then.
You are a member of a proper federation, not a pretend federation like the Australians,
Yes.
where almost everything is controlled by the federal government in Australia.
Yeah,
Yeah, for better and for worse.
Like,
Anywho.
Practically the only thing that's not controlled centrally in New Zealand is licensing your dog.
That's because they couldn't be bothered.
okay. This is going to be a 110% marathon session in Phase 1 because I'm pretty sure it's immune to the Hell Beast in Phase 1.
It
We
is
can
completely
still
immune.
we can still do damage by beating it with sticks.
I mean, oop.
Here we go.
And we're not in any danger of dying because we've got good heals. All three of us.
Hellbeast, do nothing.
I feel like the animations are kind of nice, though.
They are. They're very fluid.
We got like 5%, 10% maybe, 7%.
Yeah, and now we have to wait while it does stuff.
Just until it decides it's going to be
Throwing
vulnerable
up on us.
Oh, it's
It
sick.
feels like we're fighting a FF14 boss.
again.
You know, the squiddy looking ones.
Yeah, it's not its fault. It's sick.
Run away.
Have to unsick it by punching it with a stick.
It's a tumbleweed now.
Kill it.
Not sure.
Kill it before it propagates.
Not sure I'd call that a tumbleweed. It's more of a basketball.
Say it again. Tumbleweeds are the worst.
So a lot of very small 2 and 3 figure numbers coming out there.
We are not hitting it for big numbers at all.
What is going on?
I don't know. I've never seen it
Sanctuary?
do this move before. It definitely don't get to do this one.
Oh, it's about to explode, I think.
Those
Clear the
vines.
middle and are going to die.
Those vines are getting closer and closer. Okay.
Yeah. So you can just jump over the vines.
That's okay. A Hell Beast today keeps the damage away.
Alright. Does it go to phase 2 at a point of its health or when we kill the bar?
Same percentage all the other hypotheses do.
Oh, the death phase, you mean?
Yeah, but it's a more involved death phase than normal. Although it might zip by really fast with 3 Yao Yaos. Because we need to unsick the hypothesis. That means we need to feed it Dendro. And Electro will work too, for reasons. Save
Yeah,
your
makes sense. Anything else, I suppose.
save your Hell Beasts for the death phase. Should be getting close to it.
Stanky tree.
Oh, Hell Beasts! Oh no, we need a divide in Hell Beast in the future.
We do. Hang on. Hellbeast is coming off cooldown. There we go. Do things, Hellbeast. There it goes. Okay, now we smack it.
No, you don't smack it. You let the things heal it. But yeah, we didn't. We need to divide in Hellbeast. We don't need to dump them all in the center that time.
Well, you didn't exactly say anything about it.
Well, I thought I'm used to just running around and bopping them once with Nahida, and I thought that just gave it more health on when you turned them on. I didn't think you had to turn them all on to have it funnel health to them.
Hellbeast just wanted to smack it. Didn't want to actually do anything right.
Yeah, you gotta take the Hellbeast to your corner. Oh, it's all the way over there. So yeah,
All right.
how about your week, Vol?
Oh right, we were doing weeks. Yeah, I don't really have much else to talk about. What with yeah, I suppose the week wise, I don't have really much to talk about. The invasion of the tourists continues apace in the Blue Archive community, and the Blue Archive community are furiously attempting to get themselves on the sex offenders register in order to try and keep them out.
More so than usual, you mean?
Yeah, more so than usual, even.
Yeah. Oh, hey, she's going to go bang.
I like how my controller starts vibrating when it's gonna go boom, so I can just stay in until I feel the controller vibrating.
My controller hasn't been vibrating at all, but I probably have to figure out the Steam integration to make it work.
Yeah, Steam can be a bit weird about it that sometimes.
Well, I think Steam might help, since once Steam does work, it actually works properly.
Yeah,
Whereas the default things are kind of hit and miss.
other times it's Steam stop helping.
Okay, do we spread out, or
I don't
we
think
got
it's.
a phase, or
I don't think
I
we're
think we gotta
in.
give it. Yeah, we got to smack it a little bit more.
Yeah, so we each go to a corner and drop our Hellbeast on that one.
We had to smack it once.
Okay, so everybody find a corner. Oh, it was the carried over.
oh, okay.
Alright.
So we were nearly there already.
I'm gonna touch it.
I don't think I want to touch it. It doesn't seem like a very good deal for me.
No.
I have to walk my ass out here and do it the old-fashioned way.
Yep.
Or you could just come to my world and we can just do it.
We could do that too.
No, you couldn't.
I can't.
Well, he could. He would just have to be extremely careful.
Well, I don't think he can come to my world because his world level's lower.
Oh
than
right,
mine.
yeah, because you've got to have access to 8, don't you?
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm gonna go back to that statue of the 7 for all that healing I definitely need because all that damage we definitely took.
I took damage at one point.
And then
Because
the
I moved.
I went and hugged the thorns.
Ah.
Yeah, if we could, I would totally drag Fern there in my world and get him world level 8 Dendro Hypothesis. It won't let me do that though.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand from a design perspective why not.
Yeah. You don't want to just power level everyone.
Yeah, we kill it a few
Yeah, I don't-
times, and we should be able to get you to like 60 or something as the world level's unlocked.
I don't have anything else really to say on account of the yeah, there's not really much for me to talk about right at the minute, because I don't really want to end up on the sex offenders list. Yeah, it's certainly a strategy, and it has worked to gatekeep Blue Archives community up until this point. But like, it's been sort of very conspicuous how everybody is saying is, we don't want to become like the Hoyo fandom. Like that's their benchmark for the worst possible community is the Hoyo fandom. So yeah, I think that Blue Archive is not remarkable enough at first blush to keep the interest of the tourists in an extended period. But
Blue Archive does require, not require, it leans on waifu very heavily.
Yeah.
And that's not to everyone's taste.
Yeah, and I think that is, in some senses, from a gatekeeping perspective, both an advantage and a disadvantage. Because as an advantage, like, you get to hedge out a lot of people from the outset, but as a disadvantage, it's also relatively indistinguishable from a large number of fairly similar properties in that respect.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword in some ways. But yeah, the real meat of the parts of the story that I think are extremely good in Blue Archive is unlikely to really get a lot of play in this season, I would guess. That's what I expect to be the case. I don't know if it really will be. Kind of hard to tell at this stage.
Well, like during this season, we're gonna get probably like the masked swimsuit club assault in the bank, and that's a pretty
I'm
iconic scene. But it's not. Its payoff
I
comes later.
yeah, it's the I really do like the foreclosure the foreclosure club's story. Like, I don't have any problem with that. I enjoy it. I think it's great. It has a lot of great and archetypical moments for Blue Archive going forward. But the real meat of what is Blue Archive is really Eden Treaty and, like, Part 2 Game Development Club. But we're talking about needing like 6 seasons of Blue Archive anime in order to get there, and the first one I don't think is going to be popular enough to justify a project of that sheer scope.
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
that there are probably ways that you could condense large chunks of Eden Treaty. Like, you don't necessarily need to have every day spent on study camp be in absolute detail. You could probably cover that in a couple episodes.
You can probably do one or two as long as you have the swimsuit symposium in there. I think we'll be good.
Yeah, like, that's one of the things that I think is sort of a little bit charming about Blue Archive's take on attempting to be lewd, is that the swimsuit symposium is completely not about titillation at all.
It,
Even if Hanako 100% intends for that to be the case.
it is all just her trolling poor Kahara. Okay, everybody find your own crystal and throw your Hellbeast.
And then we do what?
We let the Hellbeast go to town and do the Hellbeast thing.
Oh.
Do Hellbeast things, Hellbeast.
And you can also Hellbeast the core in the middle after your thing has been revived to speed it up.
Well, Hellbeasting the thing that has been revived seems to work as well.
Oh, was that also speeding it up? Cool.
I think. Because mine was the only active Hellbeast on my screen at the end. And it was still healing it.
Yeah. When you turn them on, it gets trickle healing, and you can electro the nodes after they've been turned on to make it heal faster. And I think if you dendro the core after they've all been turned on, it'll heal even faster. But you may be able to dendro the nodes as well, and that count the same as hitting the core for all I know.
Well, certainly the Hellbeast was intent on doing so.
Yes, but
How far away do we need to be?
I only went to the Statue of the Seven to reset him.
Yeah, that seemed to work. Although, maybe just getting out of here might be far enough.
But yeah, I really the anime in and of its own merits is not terribly remarkable. It's an anime version of Blue Archive, and it is, I think, in a lot of ways, everything that people really wanted out of an anime version of Blue Archive. It's a source of meme material, and you get to see all of your favorite characters from Abydos, at least, animated. But it's sort of like almost too tantalizing in a weird way. Like, you get to see what could be, but you know in your heart never will, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's great and all, and I like it, and it's fun and stuff, and
But there will never be a season 3.
yeah, we're not going to get to season 3 or 4 or 5. Like, in order for like the minimum amount of story to really be done justice, you need to get all the way to Funapati's showdown.
Yeah.
Like, you and because of the way that's structured, You can't even skip Rabbits Chapter 1.
Yeah, and Rabbit's
But,
Chapter
like-
1's got shoes.
Well, I think Rabbits Chapter 1 isn't too bad. I think Rabbits Chapter 1's biggest problem is that it's a little bit too typical. It's like it's very standard anime, although in a bit of an interesting setting relative to other similar stories. But I think that it would. I think that rabbits make good anime material. Like, I think that if you did like 6 episodes of Rabbits Chapter 1 and 6 episodes of Rabbits Chapter 2, that would make a really great standalone story. Because Rabbits Chapter 2 has a lot of scenes that need to be animated in order to be any good. The description is just not good enough, and they haven't done it as well as they did in Games Development Club Chapter 2.
Man,
Like,
that's what baffles me about when I compare the camping scene in Rabbit's Chapter 1 to Game Development Club Chapter 2. Like, they clearly know how to describe a scene and make a character.
well, they have lots of different writers, though.
Yeah. It's just, it's so, like, whoever did Game Dev Chapter 2 knew what they were doing with stuff like that. And whoever wrote Rabbits really didn't.
Well, I mean, like, if you look at like you compare Agatha to Salem, those are two completely different ways of writing a story. Like, that's just going to be found on a Gacha project. I don't think there's any way around it. But yeah, it's. I think that you can. I think the story. I feel like the main problem with the story of Rabbits Chapter 1 is pacing, and that in conjunction with Chapter 2, the whole story makes more sense and feels like a very typical anime setting. Because it's did you read Chapter 2?
I don't think so. I don't think I've done Chapter 2
Well,
yet.
I won't say what happens then, but when you read it, it's, you could call it predictable. But not necessarily in a bad way. Like, it tells the right story at the right pace, but only really considered in context of Rabbits Chapter 1. So that's why I say I think that Rabbits Chapter 1 plus Chapter 2 would make a really good, say, 13 episode anime series type of thing.
Yeah.
And it feels structured like it. That's the curious thing about it, is it feels like it was a screenplay for an anime more than it feels like it's a visual novel.
Yeah.
Like, if you tackled the same story content with anime pacing, I think it would work perfectly compared to the way it works in a visual novel.
Oi, hell beasts!
Oh no, we got one over here.
And hell beast was backwards.
We got her there in the end.
You Hellbeast sure seem happy about your performance, throwing your radishes everywhere.
Yeah, I won't rabbit on any longer about my week, since there's pretty much not much more specific to tell that I can think of right at this instant in the week category.
Right. I guess I can jump into my week then. Of course, now I've got the scene in Eden's Treaty stuck in my head of, it's okay for me. You don't have to pretend to be the leader of some crazy masked vigilante gang for just for my sake. And then they show.
It's just it plays so hard against type. Like, Hifumi is like the least likely person that you would normally expect. Like, Hifumi has a very unique kind of protagonist energy. Like, she is 100% the normal girl character in context of everybody else, but has just got, through sheer coincidence, her finger in every conceivable pie.
Mm-hmm. Just over the horizon. And you can't just jump into Eden Treaty to get the same effect on this. You've got to give it a season or two of a beat between the Abydos story before this happens.
Because it becomes something that you remember, and it's like, oh, really? They're really doing this?
Yeah,
And
like
because it feels at the time like a one-off joke that they probably won't revisit, and then it turns out it's not a one-off joke that they're going to revisit. In fact, if she had not become Faust, then the entirety of the makeup work club wouldn't have happened. Everything would have fallen apart. And that scene, that key scene where she becomes Faust once more, wouldn't have happened. Like, that coincidence of Hifumi getting dragged into the foreclosure club, the foreclosure task force scheme, is basically what makes the apocalypse not happen when viewed taking the long view.
yeah, it is the oh god, we're really doing this moment is the reason we were able to save the world in the end. Oh goodness gracious. So yeah,
I also saw this comic, which for some reason I found was incredibly hilarious. I saw this morning.
uh,
That I've linked in live show chat.
hey Z, good job. Poor Serica.
She wants so badly to keep up appearances, but she doesn't realize she's actually, if anything, possibly the biggest goofball of them all.
Yeah. Nanomi just looks like she's having a good time.
She usually does.
But yeah. So my week. Finally got in touch with the website People for Work, so that mess has been piled on top of me with me having to make very crystal clear what I want done to a lady who I can barely get in communication with. And yeah, just on top of my normal workload, I've come home and I really only had time for maybe one selected activity for the night. And for most of this week, that was sitting down and playing me some verses like I have been. But this time, instead of Charlotta, we sheeping it up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the guest book continued.
Yes, it did.
I made sure Fern was receiving the full weekly War Crime Archive for his viewing
Yeah.
enjoyment.
Aristotle has managed to cement his position as a Grand Blue versus micro celebrity.
Yes. So I have reached minor public figure status as war criminal extraordinaire of the guest book, and that now anytime I match against somebody while playing as Anila, there is about a 2% chance they will then go into the guest book, find my most recent post, and reply to it. Because apparently I am recognizable as the sheep pun guy.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of what you do now.
And
This
I
is now
will,
your life.
if I am just idling in the lobby, I will have people run up to me and do the Anila unique emote to me, and they will jump on the sheep and go to sleep on it. So, did you ever actually leave the cave, Fern?
Yeah, I did. I've
Okay.
been flapping about. Hang on, I'll teleport back up over there. As I ran away and got another teleport point.
Oh, okay. Oh, I went to the wrong teleport point. That's what I'm doing. So yeah, I decided to actually sit down and learn sheep because I had sheep mostly figured out, but she has some unique quirks to her that make her uh a little bit different from people will call her a shadow clone. She's got a dragon punch and a fireball and a advancing move, but she's not really because all those moves have very unique quirks to them, and all of her normals have unique quirks as well that make sheep a little strange to play. That you really just kind of got to get into sheep brain for. First off, her fireball is special in that it can cover her. You can throw it and they can't roll it. There's two defensive actions you can take that aren't just blocking in this game. One is spot dodging, where you just go completely invulnerable for a few seconds, and anything that would go and touch you being an attack, anything that's not a throw, will go right through you. And your character will do a little step back animation, and then they'll come back and they'll at the end of the spot dodge and be fairly fairly safe-ish. You cannot spam this because people can just grab you out of it, and it is not safe on if they are not doing anything and you're just spot dodging in their face. There's a hole at the very start and the very end of it where you are not safe. But if you do it while the opponent is just chucking fireballs at you, you can just spot dodge the fireballs, no problem. The other defensive action you can take is evading or rolling, is what it's called, where you press the same button you would for spot dodge, but while holding forward instead of back. And you will... Why is it over there?
Because it wants to be.
Where you will roll forward while having invincibility frames, but there's a quirk to this, and that any low attacks you're not invulnerable to, or ground traveling projectiles. Now, the game didn't have a whole lot of ground traveling projectiles until the introduction of sheep, because sheep run on the ground. So you cannot roll the sheep. If you try to roll the sheep, you're just going to get bonked. So that being a unique quirk for Fireball gives you a lot more options in reducing what the opponent can do than some other Fireball spamming characters. And her other moves are her DP is bad. Her Dragon Punch is only used as a reversal if they're just mashing on top of you when you're in hard knockdown. Otherwise, you do not want to just throw the Dragon Punch out there willy-nilly. It's not a very good move. It is technically a reversal, though, so you can wake up from knockdown with it and be invincible and pop them off you to take your turn back if they're just sitting there mashing buttons. And her what I call the sheep ride, it's called like Fluff to the Future or something is its actual name. But the sheep ride, you get on the sheep and you ride the sheep across the arena. It has a long startup that you're totally unsafe during, but once you're on the sheep, you are considered in what is called a pseudo-airborne state, and that anything on the ground you will go right over.
Oh.
And the sheep will carry you to the enemy, and you have two options. At any point during sheep ride, you can push a button and do what I call activating your ejector sheep, and hop off the sheep. So after you hop off the sheep then will roll into a ball and go ram the opponent, or you can stay on the sheep. And if you stay on the sheep, you will you'll bonk into the opponent and pop off them, and you'll go do a little flip in the air and land. If you're doing the light version, relatively safely. If you're doing the medium version, definitely not safely, but pretty far away. And the heavy version is also fairly safe. So it's a good, easy approach method to just check your opponent and make sure they're not sleeping. You're not going to get a bunch of a combo off of it, or at least not until the recent patch anyway, where they changed the ultimate version where you can spin 50 meter to enhance the sheep ride. Now if the sheep ride connects, you pop, instead of just bonking the enemy and knocking them across the screen like you do for all the other versions, the sheep will automatically do the ejector sheep at the end of it and go into a rolly ball that will pop the enemy straight up in the air. And this gives you a full combo. And the hardest thing I had to learn with her was what the heck you're supposed to do with this. And what you're supposed to do with this is you're supposed to catch him with a standing medium on the way down, and then throw the fireball sheep, the yellow version of it, and have that sheep carry them all the way across the map to the corner, and then do a dashing heavy attack and kick them in the face. And now they're stuck in the corner, and you can do whatever pressure you want. This is incredibly funny when it works, and is the optimal way to do damage from mid-screen. And you can tell it makes people mad because they start doing really, really dumb things. They'll just start mashing buttons whenever it happens, because they do not know how to react to it.
Yep. I'm out of resin, by the way, so if we want to switch to Ari's Vol's World.
Well, we can't go to Vol's World because mine and Vol's Worlds are too high level.
Yeah.
So, on the show, we just follow you around and throw yo-yo at things. We can go back to exploring in Liyue, though.
We can do that, and probably should do that then.
So big teleport point, and we will follow you. But
I'm just blowing an ungodly amount of more upgrading my gear in order to increase my HP even more. But of course, I'm only rolling flat attack on every relic.
But yeah. So Sheep also got a buff to her dashing heavy attack, where if you use it at max range, you are safe. And I figured out another quirk about her dashing heavy attack. You are considered fully airborne during the dashing heavy, but it comes out too fast for the opponent to react with crouching heavy, which is the universal anti-air.
Yep.
So they cannot just anti-air you on it. On reaction, they'd have to have it queued up ahead of time. So they'd have to hard read you. And even then, dashing heavy puts your hitbox so far out there, them attempting it on most characters is suicide because they're going to get kicked in the face. Now, if you successfully land a hit with dashing heavy, you get a good chunk of damage, but if it's not a counter hit, you're not going to get much else off. You're just going to push them close to the corner. If it's a counter hit, though, they buffed it with the last patch so that you get a free wall bounce. Even if they're mid-screen, they will hit an invisible wall and bounce back towards you. And this thus begins the trick to learning Anila, which I have dubbed Anila Baseball. Where wherever you kick them and out the trajectory they're coming at, you've got to time your standing medium hit so that you whack them at the perfect distance to stop them from getting super close to you, but not at max range either. So you got to hit them on the sweet spot of the bat to spin them at the right height, and then you can go for a Raging Strike combo. And that'll auto-correct their height, and then you can do the Sheep Corner carry combo again and get them really frustrated. Now, the problem is, every single time you counter hit them, you have no idea where on the screen they're going to bounce to from the counter hit. And so learning how to play Anila Baseball is an art. Also, Anila has a great anti-air in her Crouching C. Her Crouching Heavy attack. However, it's very thin and does not come out very fast at all. And so what you've got to do, but it goes really, really far. So you can totally bully people in the sky by just using Crouch and C. The problem is, you got to learn baseball to do it. And you've got to get them in a good spot on that hit to where you can run up to them and play baseball with them again with a standing medium from a wonky height on counter hit, and then do the Raging Strike corner carry combo. This takes a lot of practice to get right, but it is really rewarding to do correctly. And none of this is complicated. There are no motions involved in any of this because of simple controls for the sheep ride and the sheep throws that are involved. But just learning the timing and when to push the button is just a lot of fun. And dashing heavy is such a dumb move right now because it has so much priority and so few characters can punish it easily that you just go on the sheep pogo stick and go kick him in the face. I've also come to appreciate the sheep because she is the answer to one of the more obnoxious problems I've run into the game, which is what I've called sweaty CAG players.
What?
Sweaty Cagliostra players. CAG puts traps on the ground. She's a trap and trick fighter, where she'll put traps on the ground and in the air that will trigger when you walk over them. And normally, if you're playing another character, you've got to try and fish CAG out from traps with fireballs, and get her hit, because if she takes a hit while the traps are active, then all the traps go away. Or you've got to try and navigate them and instantly block them as you're running over them, and it's very, very obnoxious. However, Anila is dumb and doesn't care about traps, and I love it.
You just sheep over and win.
No, the sheep won't work, but dashing heavy will. Because the way her dashing heavy animation looks, it's easier if I get a picture so that I can illustrate what I'm talking about. I sent one to Vol a while ago, so I'll scroll up, find it. Here it is. I'll dump it in live show chat so that you got a better idea of this. I'll pull the Discord up on the main monitor. so you can see on the stream briefly. There you go. But yeah, she just plants the back end of her stick in the ground and just goes and pole vaults on it with her feet first into the enemy. And if Kag has traps on the ground, this will trigger the traps if you're over them. But the problem for those traps is Anila's too high for those traps to reach. So they just kind of activate and do nothing.
Ah.
And I have kicked so many Kag players in the face with this that they had I could just feel them getting more and more frustrated because they would just start mashing teleport randomly. But the sheep has been a ton of fun to learn, especially because most of her stuff is timing based. The sheep does not have very intricate combos. There are not a whole lot of button presses in her combos. It's all about timing the stuff correctly. You just walked right by a treasure chest up here, by the way.
Oh, did I?
Uh-huh.
Ah, so many treasure chests.
I'm hanging out. I'll throw the Hellbeast on it. Oh, I missed. The Hellbeast went in the ditch.
How could you do this?
But I'll stand on it. Try to stand on it. But yeah, that's where my week has gone. I have got to level 500 on Anila, which is I have played a truly absurd number of games on that character at this point, and have unlocked my rainbow weapon. I am very close to unlocking my rainbow weapon on Charlotta. We're talking like 1,000 games on the character.
It's a lot of games.
Yeah, not rounds, games.
Fluff.
Yeah.
So much fluff.
So I have fluffed many people up, mostly Abo, but he probably had it coming. I'm not going to get off this treasure chest until you come get it, Fern.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Me and my Hellbeast are going to just live up here on it. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about more with it, though. I've been yo-yoing up and down throughout S rank and ranked. I'll spend one day I'll go up, and another day I'll go down, and that's pretty much it. It's I feel like I'm getting better at the game, but I don't honestly want to take my skill much higher. I can already play at an even game match with pretty much anybody that isn't master rank. Like, I went up against a S+ or an S++ Matera just for funsies right before the show, and I was not warmed up at all and still felt like I did fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anybody that isn't master rank, it's not an impossible situation for me to win the game anymore. And I understand enough about my characters and the fundamentals of the game to get by. And progressing much further would kind of put me into a level of sweaty play of the game that I don't really want to get into. I just want to play the game to have fun and learn the characters and do the combos right, but I don't want to become the person that knows every option select in every single matchup for every single character. Because that's when we're past the point where I don't think it's fun anymore. That's when it starts to feel like work.
Yeah. And
it also becomes less fun to play me. Because if I want to play my main characters at that point, I can't. If like you guys were to pick up the game and moderately get into it, for instance, and rollback really was the magical thing everybody was talking about.
It's not.
Oh, Vol got to experience what it's like. We got to see a match of terrible rollback.
I saw a live match of Aristeel running into the joys of rollback.
Yeah.
That is to say, it was totally unplayable looking to me.
It was a slideshow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just totally broke down.
When they test these rollback technology, how far between the testers do they allow for, I wonder?
Well, let's see, that's not the point. The point of rollback is to maximize the playability of local networks.
Yep.
Yeah.
They aren't actually that interested in solving the problem that we would have in practice.
Yeah, we represent such a small factor when it comes to network play that we're at the bottom of their priority list for solving. They're the most they're willing to accommodate for is like across the U.S.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Any further than that, you're on your own.
I mean,
So
I've
it's
got
not like it turns out that it doesn't work. It's that they never cared whether or not it worked to begin with.
yeah. So it is frustrating for people in our situation where East Coast USA to where you guys live is just there's too many hops on that node for it to like we're going to have like 4 or 5 frames roll back on the absolute best day.
Yeah.
And that's already at the upper limit. If it's any worse than that, you're gonna turn into the slideshow Vol saw this today. And it's a very hard line where it crosses into slideshow territory. Like
I did notice that because it was like 3 frames, then it ticked up to 4, and then it ticked up to 5, and then as soon as it hit 5, it's like, oh well, there's not actually a game taking place anymore.
Yeah, it's like
Nah.
okay, we got a couple weird visualization glitches here at 4 and 5, and then like as soon as you cross that line, it's just we're slideshowing. It's a mess. But yeah, that's all I did for my week, and I've kind of rabbited it on about Granblue for a while now. So I don't feel like I need to go into more detail about it. I still enjoy the game and the characters. Probably not going to go as hard on it because I am kind of feeling like I'm getting a bit too into it, if that makes sense. So I want to avoid that sweaty level of play. I still like playing randos in the lobby. I don't actually know if I want to get to S+ and S++ rank and grind it that hard because that'll run me into the shoe of people won't want to play me anymore. And aside from the degenerate weirdos in the guest book, I do actually like the community that's cropped up in the game.
Ghostfactory.jpg.
Yeah, Fairy's childlike body. Yeah, no. I get the feeling some of these people play are hardcore members of the Blue Archive fandom as well. It's from the caliber of conversation.
They should also be in jail.
I am doing my best with weapons grade sheeponium being detonated all over that guest book to cleanse it.
Those are different kinds of crimes.
Yeah, but the difference is mine are still legal.
That's debatable.
Mine are done from a place of love and wanting to make the community a better place. Theirs
are done from a place of a certain type of quote love unquote.
Yeah, this is getting creepy. Let's not.
I do love my dumb sheep puns. Like yeah, but that's all I got. I'm now a minor public figure in the Granblue online community for Versus Rising as the terrible sheep pun person.
Yes.
And,
I mean, you put that sort of character in, and sooner or later, there is going to be a terrible pun person who shows up. It's just going to happen.
Oh, I did find out something very interesting about Anila, though, and her English voice actress.
Hmm?
I had never heard Anila's English voice actress in anything before. She's got kind of a generic voice, but I still had never heard it before. You know why? She's not a voice actor.
Oh.
She's a localizer, and not just any localizer. She was part of the team that was on the Excel spreadsheet document for the Trails games.
Ah, well,
like the Sky
actual OG localizers who
yeah,
cares about what they're doing.
Yeah, the old Exceed ones that I would read the comments from on the old Trails in the Sky localization documents. And it turns out the reason this is like one of her 2 voice acting roles is because she just really, really, really likes Granblue and somehow weaseled herself into getting a voice acting gig as one of the characters.
Oh, good for her.
So that was fun to find out. So somebody who I had known about before but never heard the voice of voices my sheep.
Yeah, back when localizers actually cared.
Well, even then, localizers didn't actually care. The Trails in the Sky Excel document is a thing that you will never ever see another company ever do, and they were not
It's-
doing it at the
yeah.
time. It,
Well,
It's
that's
it-
not
not gonna
exactly efficient.
yeah,
no.
that is something special that they really knew they had a gem and wanted to do a good job with it, and just a whole lot of people are not gonna. No company is gonna put that kind of effort into localizing a product without either the people that are doing it getting really attached to the product, or yeah, it's pretty much the only way. But yeah, finding out that that was the voice of Anila made me quite happy. So she wasn't the main girl; she was just one of the girls on the localization team. But she was definitely one of the ones that was commenting quite a bit alongside the rest of the team on that Excel document.
Aha! I don't need Geo Traveler after all.
Have the Hell Beast. Why would you need Geo Traveler?
Can I actually activate things by throwing the Hellbeats at? I'm not talking about weight switches. I'm talking about, well, basically anything else.
You know, in anything that requires something to sit on it, the Hell Beast appears to work.
Yeah.
It won't work for like geonodes, or geo-specific statues, but anything that just needs weight, the Hellbeast seems adequate as a weight source.
Yep.
It is fat enough, and it's belly full of radishes.
There's another Culus over there.
So
Can
yeah.
I climb bamboo? Yes, I can.
Oh, hang on, Vern. Stay on the bamboo.
Uh-oh. What do you... No, I don't like this. Nah.
That make it. What did that do to your camera?
Made everything jiggle.
I will make you jiggly.
Oh, I can stand at the top of bamboo. No, I can't.
I will knock you off the bamboo.
But first, we have to fight some things.
You mean
All right.
the Hell Beast has to fight some things.
Yes.
All
We
of
can run
the
in
Hell
and whack
Beasts.
stick.
So yeah, that's all I got for news.
There's hasn't been a whole lot of news this week, really, has there?
Nope.
Yeah.
Since yeah, I nothing jumped out to me at all. I'm trying to go through the
Yeah.
previous newses to see if there's anything I skipped, but I don't see nothing. I
The
didn't.
only bit that really kind of jumped out at me is because I don't actually care about the franchise is the whole debacle with City Skylines 2.
No.
That game, when it launched, was seriously undercooked.
I saw some people talking about it, but I didn't follow up on what it was because I'm not really a city builder person. So I figured I wouldn't understand any of the discourse.
Yeah. Long and the short is that game needed at least another year in development before it was ready for launch. But because the Paradox is the publisher and they don't seem to know what they're doing half the time, they're weird. Like sometimes they do absolutely perfect, and other times they just do absolutely abysmal, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of middle.
Release $500 worth of DLC.
And sometimes they release $500 worth of DLC. So, yeah, because this game has been in such a terrible state, there was the old promise of, oh, we'll do better, and then they go and release a DLC, which was even worse. A DLC which has palm trees in it, and if you load up somebody's map who has the DLC but you don't, then those palm trees are replaced with generic placeholder objects. So yeah,
Not even trees specifically.
not even specifically trees, just objects. I think I didn't actually look at what objects it was. I assume it's the magenta cubes.
A perfectly generic object.
Perfectly generic objects. So yeah, that also ended up being a dumpster fire because it added a whole bunch more problems on top of the existing problems. So thankfully, Paradox has come out and formally apologized for that. That DLC is now free for everyone. Everyone who bought it is going to get a refund, and if you bought the collector's edition with all the DLCs included, they're going to include a bunch of extra bits and pieces into that for you as well, just so you get your money's worth. So yeah, at least someone seems to be trying to do the right thing. I'm not sure how many of these people actually exist within big game developers or Paradox in particular, but someone's trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame too, because had the game been developed properly, I think it would have done really, really well. I really enjoyed a lot of what I played in that. But at the same time,
there's a lot of hope riding on it, wasn't it? Like, it was supposed to be the great successor to SimCity.
yeah, and the first one was very much so. And so the problem is when you got the sequel coming out, and half of the features that the first game had developed over the years were not included. Especially when they mentioned that some of them are going to be behind a DLC paywall. People got shitty.
Part of attempting to be the successor to SimCity appears to be attempting to die to your own stupid bullshit.
Yes.
I am when you just said that, Fern, you know what came to mind?
Oh no.
Of the Mongolians broke down my sheety wall.
Yeah. You notice that EA still hasn't made any more attempts at SimCity ever since. They haven't even talked about SimCity.
Well, that's because the last one they released was a total dumpster fire.
It was so bad that, yeah, they completely destroyed the golden legacy that the franchise had before that in one game. That's how bad it was.
They didn't learn any lessons from it.
Oh no.
I mean, technically speaking, they only learned that, oh well, I guess we should probably stop with the SimCity. They didn't learn anything about the nature of the downfall of SimCity.
Yes.
You guys fall?
Yeah, there seems to be a kind of hidden wall there.
There's a slippery part on the wall.
You got
There's
wall.
Culus at the top, so I'm gonna go.
No! I fell down and I was so close to being able to stand.
Yeah.
Come on, Hellbeast, patch me up.
So yeah, that was.
I will send you my Hellbeast from the top of the cliff. Oh wow, he got some air on him.
You go mean and throw your Hellbeast. Ooh, eggs. So yeah,
My Hellbeast sliding gradually down the roof.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about the only bit of news that I can really think of. Yeah, it is the doldrums. It is backlog time.
So, Vol, do you have that one topic that you want to jump into, or do you want to leave that one?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a thing that happened, and it's definitely not unrelated to gaming, and it's basically what has glutted up my entire social media feed for the entire week.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Games Workshop.
I wasn't going to talk about this, but yeah.
So, essentially, Games Workshop have released the new Adeptus Custodes Codex, and it has not been well received.
That's putting it nicely.
Right. So basically, they have jammed into it female Adeptus Custodes. Now, the standing law ever since Rogue Trader, the very first version of 40k, has been that Custodes are sort of like superior or prototypes or both versions of Space Marines, but like Space Marines, given that they employ the same technology in their creation, it's not compatible with female physiology.
No.
Therefore, all of them are male. And this has always been the case. And you can find this attested throughout the lore in the game over the years. There's no question about it. Nobody was under the impression it was otherwise. They have, in this new codex, they have introduced female custodies with no explanation to how or why. They've just inserted them in there. Now, this would have been bad enough. This would have been very poorly received in and of itself. But they made everything for themselves so much worse.
Oh,
And the
yes.
way that they managed to do this was that when questioned about how there could be female custodies, they said, oh, there always have been. Because Oceania has always been at war with East Asia.
Apparently.
Like, this is the thing. It's like the 1984 thing. If you control the present, then you control the past. So they basically unilaterally declared that it had always been this way, and anyone who thought otherwise was wrong. Much to the gloating of the people who are very keen on this type of forced inclusion type of thing. So this has been roundly disliked by anybody I would call an actual fan of Warhammer 40k. And it has come as an unpleasant surprise to a lot of people, and a unpleasant, not at all a surprise to most of everybody else. This being the case, it has opened up a great deal of discussion about, well, a lot of people put their heads in the sand about it, but the Games Workshop has always been woke. They've always been looking for an opportunity to do this to 40k, but they didn't have the sort of commercial cojones to do it because they knew what it would cost, which is the goodwill of their primary audience. And it has cost them the goodwill of their primary audience. Now, the interesting thing about this is, well, what's the difference? What's the difference between then and now? Why is it now? Did they simply reach some sort of critical mass of ideological poisoning? But there are a lot of rumors that are completely unable to be confirmed floating out into the wild concerning why it might be that this is the case. And the main one is that this is sort of, it is, but it isn't a call that was made by Games Workshop. Now, there are two sides to this. Number one, the notorious BlackRock has come on as a funder for Games Workshop, and they own a large single-digit stake in the company now. They are one of like the top 5 shareholders, and they are the ones who are behind the ESG system, where your favorability as a company for investment is advertised by way of your amount of approval that your company will get through their metrics for inclusion, among other things. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is the project that Henry Cavill is supposedly working on.
Yes,
the
the
TV
Warhammer
series.
40K TV series, yes.
Now, this is the rumor that is going around. And this is one of those unconfirmed rumors of the type where somebody says that they've got an inside line and they can't prove it because they can't out themselves. But that this
Usual
is what
thing
is
that pops
going.
up on 4chan.
Yeah. Now, these things are sometimes, but most of the time, they are not true. Sometimes they are true. And more often than they usually get credit for, they turn out to be true. But the case is apparently that it was simply demanded, but was it Amazon or Netflix working on this one? I don't even remember which. Amazon. Apparently they demanded that there be a female character. And they demanded essentially by implication that it be a Custodes, and the reason for this was that they were not willing to accept a Sister of Battle
Or a silent sister.
because they couldn't accept a silent sister because it wouldn't be a speaking character then.
Exactly.
And
So that's
Sisters of
right out.
Silence Sisters of Silence are all silent by choice, so they can't do disability representation by that metric instead. They wouldn't accept a Sister of Battle because they refused to have a overtly religious protagonist character, much less a girl boss.
And yeah, they'd probably expect people would get upset by someone throwing a flaming cathedral at their enemies. Is what they do.
And they weren't willing to accept the female power armored Inquisitor character that is like there are plenty of those, Like power armor is sort of standard gear for high-ranking inquisitors who are female because they know that it's the easiest equalizer they can possibly have for melee combat. And that's just a part of the lore. It always has been. There are multiple major female inquisitorial characters who use power armor as a matter of course.
Yep.
But it was refused. They refused that proposal because it would, if they took her out of the armor, then she wouldn't be able to girl boss all over the male characters. It would imply that she didn't have physical strength without power armor, which women don't, of course, compared to, you know, the enormous number of meatheads in the setting.
Yes.
And so basically they were, Games Workshop were cornered into, well, we'll have to use a Custodes then, because if we use a Space Marine, it'll all be over for our business. And Custodes are a little bit more fringe. So maybe we can soften people up by doing this in the Codex where it's totally uncalled for. And the reason why this seems like a plausible explanation is because despite the fact that they went out of their way to release female Custodes in the lore, and they released a new Codex, they did not release any sculpts of females despite the refreshing of some of the sculpts.
Mm-hmm.
It's only on paper. It has only been included cursorially. Now, this has, of course, prompted the usual outbreak of objections. Like, oh, why do you care so much? Why do you care so much? Well, laying aside that it has been well established since the time of Aristotle that maintaining verisimilitude in a work of art is necessary in order for it to be appreciated, and therefore canonicity and the stability of canon is important to that. Laying that aside, it's always going to inspire the rejoinder, well, why did you care so much to change it? Why did it need to be changed? And in this case, it seems like they are bowing to corporate pressure from Amazon in order to maintain the project. Thing is, it's sort of up in the air whether or not they'll get away with this, because Henry Cavill is a bit of a nerd.
Yes.
And he is like a long time 40k fanatic. Like every time he is posting about personal stuff online, it is about him showing off his 40k stuff. Because he absolutely freaking loves 40k. And that's why he's involved in this project to begin with. If then they pull something that is like basically heresy to a 40k player, no pun intended, there's a non-negligible chance that he'll walk away from the project if this is really the reasoning.
Mm-hmm. And no Henry Cavill, no project.
Yeah, because that's going to absolutely tank their investor confidence. On account of a lot of the investor confidence in this project is derived specifically from Cavill's enthusiasm for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the evidence that it will be profitable. But he is also, you know, a lore nerd, and he gained a great deal of notoriety from severely impeding the process of creating the Witcher TV series because he would throw an absolute tantrum on set every time they damaged the canon.
Yep. Because he tried it with Witcher and they just kept pushing him away, laughing him off, or just plying excuses.
Well, I mean, if you look at how The Witcher exists now and what the most recent series looked like, it's one of the biggest
cancelled it, by
jokes
the
in
way.
modern television.
Yeah, the production has been halted. They're not making any more after this.
I'm not talking
Because-
about the one that Cavill was in. I'm talking about the one that they tried to use as the replacement,
Yes.
which is ostensibly a Witcher show, but doesn't
Wit-
have any Witcher in it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I think the last season that Cavill was in, he was on screen for maybe 20 minutes of the entire run.
Because they didn't intend for it to be about him. They intended it to be about Girl Boss Edition Yennefer.
Yeah.
That
instead
was
of,
the,
you know,
that was the
actual
point.
Yennefer.
So yeah, basically it's, you know, it seems like if the rumors are true, then this is 100% a traditional case of a company shitting in its own bed in an attempt to make money.
Mm.
There's something that essentially has never ever worked in the past, and I don't expect that to change. So yeah, I am rustled by this in sort of like generic terms, because like, whereas for you know, for Aristeel, for instance, the Yu-Gi-Oh's was his high school thing, but for me it was Warhammer All my friends were into Warhammer. I was into Warhammer. Terrible at it, and I was terrible at painting. Didn't matter. Warhammer was awesome, so I was into Warhammer. And this is another one of those "why are you taking a dump on my childhood" things for me. Like
Yep.
they really, really wanted to make Warhammer work for a long time because of the fact that it's sort of like a fortified castle as far as woke is concerned. Like the entire setting is based around genocidal, hyper-religious space racists. It's about as
Really?
far from woke as you could ever get.
Yeah, it is.
So it's like the territory you want to conquer when you really need to humiliate your enemy and show them that you're in control. So they've been trying to wokeify it for a long time, but every time the female Space Marines debate comes up, the people at Games Workshop get cold feet when they realize how many people are absolutely furious about the very idea, because it damages their engagement with the world on account of they've been engaged with the setting for such a long time, and there is no place in it for female Space Marines because everybody knows what Space Marines are, and female is not one of the things that they are.
Yeah.
So it has always been forestalled by the fact that you simply can't change the setting enough to make it woke without damaging it irreparably. But this is sort of like one of those things that looks like the first few pebbles coming down on the avalanche to trying to change what 40k is as a form of social engineering and sort of like proof of social conquest. So yeah, I'm rustled about it in that sense. It's been a while since I gave any money directly to Games Workshop. Like I said, it was a high school thing for me. I've many times I've debated getting back into it, but simply haven't had the time or the opponents or the social community to do so. But if they're on a vector like this, it sort of dissuades me even further.
There has been one meme I've seen started to emerge from this, and that is simply 3D printer go burr.
Yeah, that's the thing. They were already in a dangerous position commercially because they now exist in a world where their product is not something that is exclusive to them. It can be made by other people with the know-how, the time, the resources, and the barrier to entry to do that gets lower with each passing year.
3D printers now, you can buy a decent one for about $150.
Yeah, I've got friends who've got them. Like it's not a strange thing anymore. It's not like a weird niche thing anymore. People have them, and you can more or less go online and download models and print on demand these days for a lot of things. Now, in some cases, your cheap ones are not going to necessarily give the greatest quality. I mean, not that you would expect that, but it's not so far out that if a company has managed to offend you in a thoroughgoing way that you just don't want to humor them anymore, it's not so far out of consideration that people will just decide, well, I don't actually need you anymore. There are actually alternative tabletop wargaming systems, and we can participate in the community without your endorsement. It's not actually necessary. This is sort of like the Wizards of the Coast thing, right? You can't stop people from playing tabletop by licensing the crap out of your stuff. That doesn't meaningfully change anything.
Oh, that reminds me, actually. Didn't Cynthia Williams get sacked?
I don't
CEO
remember.
of Wizards of the Coast. Apparently, she's got 1 week. Like, they keep saying she's going to retire or she's moving on, but that's corpo speak.
I have a vague feeling I've heard something like that, but I don't know the fine-grained details on it. I mean, it's not a company that has a very stable C-suite to begin with, so I don't know whether or not that means anything or whether it means they've learned any lessons. But
the Improv may be a human supremacist, but I think you really missed out. He should have made the Space Marines out of Hellbeasts.
The Emperor is more of a human survivalist.
No, he made human supremacy the creed in order to give humans the will to survive. Like these two things go hand in hand. Like their creed is human supremacy, simply because what happens if you endorse, diversity. If you endorse diversity in a thoroughgoing way, it becomes completely pathological extremely quickly, as you can see if you look at the population of London. But yeah, it's certainly not a case of any genuine interest on the part of Games Workshop in diversity or representation, because let's be real here, everybody knows exactly what the custodies are in the mind of like the popular fandom. And let's see, we'll just take the first hit that I get from Discord.
Oh no.
Yes, GIF in live show chat. This is what the custodies are in the minds of the people who play Warhammer. They're unbelievably flamboyant, half-naked, oiled-up men.
You, of course, found those custodies.
That was the first hit.
Of course it was.
The first hit. Because this is actually what it's like. So it's definitely not about representation. Because they could not be gayer if they tried.
I wish TTS would come back. So good.
Well, do you know why it doesn't exist anymore? Games Workshop.
Games Workshop.
They threatened legal action, so the guy had to stop.
They just made the environment too hostile to continue.
Wasn't there an
Never mind
episode
that it was
where Siege played Yu-Gi-Oh in that series?
there were
Two of them.
There were 2 episodes.
Yeah, the first one was Kitten versus the Emperor, and then the second one was Kitten versus Zinch. And the Zinch one is still one of the ones I just go back and watch for random.
Yeah, I don't understand anything that's going on, but it's still entertaining.
To
I
be
have
fair,
no idea how Yu-Gi-Oh works at all.
To be fair, nobody does. And I say that with Ari as a known judge in the room.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys had me review one of those to see if all the moves were legal, and I think one thing missed timing.
Yeah,
Technically.
I think there was you did find a problem with it, but other than the fact that nearly all the cards they used were banned, the game itself was pretty much legal.
Yeah, there was only one thing I remember from the Siege episode, I think, that just missed timing. That's not how that card works. And that's a ruling question, not a function question.
So an actual game that 2 non-judges might play could easily play out like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless, I think that this is a grave misstep on Games Workshop's part, and they could have done this whole thing without managing to provoke the backlash in the degree that they have. Like, there was always going to be backlash because they have damaged their canon in a totally unnecessary way for no real reason and no real gain. So it was always going to be backlash. However, I think that really what got people's ire up was claiming it has always been this way.
The gaslighting,
It's
yeah.
always been this way. You were if you thought it otherwise, you were wrong and stupid and wrong and bigoted and wrong. And that's what I think has made this very personal for a lot of people. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that, oh well, some IP that they are entertained by has changed. It's like you have told people their conception of the world is wrong.
Yeah, like if they tried to put some sort of lore spin on it and like, say, oh, it's an experimental branch of the gene seed or something like that, a lot of people probably wouldn't have bought it, but at least
They probably they would have sneered at it as being, this is,
Dumb.
try hard diversity bullcrap, but they wouldn't have felt like it was a personal attack on them.
Yes.
But as soon as you tell people, oh well, it's always been that way, you've made it personal. You're attacking their perception of the IP. It has always been this way.
It rings very similar to You Think You Do But You Don't.
It's essentially the same thing.
Or do you guys not have phones?
Except I don't think they were panicking when they said it this time. There is one rumor out there that
I think it's entirely possible they were panicking, because if the stuff about the rumors behind the scenes is true, then they were over a barrel and desperate to try and come up with a solution to appease Amazon script writers. because appeasing
the
the
fan
wrong
base.
people is always well
Yeah.
they haven't ever attempted to appease the fan base, but yeah, and you can see a lot of the usual tourists coming out of the woodwork to say to basically gloat. They
Yeah.
aren't people who care about the property, but they've certainly showed up to gloat.
As they always do.
And yeah, I think that thinking anything other than that this is a sort of like a very damaging decision to make, just as far as I'm concerned, only goes to show that you never really cared about the property with any nuance to begin with. Like, you just looking at making your entertainment a reflection of the real world, which, like I said, going back to Aristotle, the stability of a fictional world is a necessary thing in order for it to function correctly, in order for it to be a believable substitute for reality such that people can be entertained by it. When you change the world, it ceases to be that way. The rules are different now. And if people are already invested in one set of rules, well, you come in and interfere with it. You bring in something from outside that doesn't belong there, that isn't part of it, reminding everybody about the outside world. And this is the whole, injecting modern political issues into every piece of fiction problem. You bring the outside world in, it completely impedes suspension of disbelief, and people cannot enjoy it anymore. The people that I've seen online who enjoy this change all enjoy it because it makes other people unhappy, which is basically the clearest way of quickly marking yourself out as a bad person, as far as I'm concerned. Your primary enjoyment is derived from the anguish of others. You're not really making the case for, your inclusion creed.
I mean,
So
I don't know if I'm one to speak here when I regularly commit war crimes in the guest book. But sometimes what is wrong with just, maybe the Hell Beast is just fun. Maybe I just like the Hell Beast. There doesn't need to be anything political about the Hell Beast. It's funny rabbit thing that throws radishes. What about the funny sheep lady? She make funny sheep puns and she throws fluff at people. That's
funny is debatable.
like you can remember when things used to be fun. I'm pulling out the member berries.
Can't have fun anymore.
Before politics got involved.
This is all the way back to I just wanted to play video games, man.
Like, I just wanted to have fun at video games in the fictional world. I just want to throw the Hell Beast at people. I just want to make funny sheep puns.
I just want a story that's absolutely nothing to do with real life.
Even though Inazuma's story is crap, it's still, I can talk about it on the merits of its own story, as few as those are, and don't need no real world anything in it to remember it or to discuss it.
Well, the thing is, I feel like the Inazuma story is sort of like a hyper-fantastical take on the opening of Japan from history. Like, it's not like it doesn't include real-world politics in the theming of it, but they aren't trying to make you perceive a certain thing in a certain way. They aren't trying to use entertainment as propaganda.
Yeah.
Whereas this change with the Custodies is all about the girl bossing. It's all about erasing any kind of differences between men and women. There's not only is it not beneficial or not useful, it's also just not true. Like, men and women are just better at different things. And there's no way that will ever be erased by any power. It's just not even a rational thing to try. So yeah, it's a fundamentally nonsensical position for them to be occupying, but they're occupying it because it is the done thing now. It is simply the way that you prove you are a good person for a lot of people now, is to deny reality, to abuse people who object to your denial of reality, and just generally make a huge shitter of yourself online wherever you have the opportunity to do so. Like, none of these things are oriented towards anything constructive or anything virtuous. There is no good to be found here. No good will come of this at all, in any conception. Because this isn't about doing something that makes anything better. The purpose of this is to hurt something else. The purpose of this is to upset the apple cart for somebody else. It is simply not about improving the IP. It is simply not about it's not even about the IP to begin with. This is about social conquest. It's about saying, I can do this and you can't stop me. And then to proceed on and say that, oh, well, it's contemptible that you ever thought that this could not be the case. Well, you're going to have a battle on your hands then. I don't know exactly how this is all going to shake down. It could be that this will just totally wash over the fandom and it will be transformed into something else. But I mean, it's not as though Wizards of the Coast didn't attempt the same thing. They did in Magic the Gathering, and Magic the Gathering's popularity has fallen off a cliff as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody buys their new gimmick sets. The only sets that sell are the ones that are indistinguishable from the ones of old. That Black Aragorn set they made, nobody bought it. It was dead on arrival. All those lots of hobby shops went out of business as a result of Wizards of the Coast decision, simply because Wizards of the Coast contracts obliged them to buy a certain amount of stock. Then when they changed the nature of their product, the product was so unpopular, lots of people lost a lot of money on it, and they were put out of business. That means that the hobby and other related hobbies as a whole were damaged by the decision of Wizards of the Coast to try and represent their ideology in their product.
Oh, Black Gorn. Oh no, the Jimmy Rebel song stuck in my head again.
You aren't allowed to sing it.
Nope.
There are a few things worse that you could sing live on YouTube, but yeah. So I'm mad about it. I'm not like fulminating over it the way a lot of other people are, but I'm sort of like passively mad at it because I don't put any money in, so I can't take any money out. But I certainly would take money out given the chance.
It's more just
It's
tired.
it's handily killed any motivation that I have to take up 40k again, which is 40k is for me in a similar basket to World of Warcraft, in that creeping feeling to go back to it sneaks up on you once in a while when your guard is down.
Mm-hmm.
Except that I don't have a raft of bad associations with 40k. So, oh my goodness, you seriously attacked that thing, Fern?
Yes. And yeah, let the Hellbeast take it down. Go Hellbeast.
What did y'all fight? I was smacking bamboo.
He pulled a Stonehide Lower Chill.
Oh,
Big angry guy, yes.
y'all got plenty of Hellbeasts until I get there, which will be quite a while because I gotta climb up cliffs.
Well, the thing is that he moves around a lot, so the Hellbeast is never in range.
That's okay. He's in range of you while he's out.
But we're also in range of him when, well, that's the case.
No, you need to be in range of your own Hellbeast so that you don't die. That's all that matters.
That is actually true, yes.
Yeah. I every time I've thought about getting into Warhammer, something like this has come up and I've just been very happy I never did.
Yeah, every hobby has gone this way though. Like for instance, the Stellar Blade thing continues to rage on. There was a story about the Tomb Raider remaster as well.
Yeah, where she's not a Tomb Raider anymore. She's a colonial apologist or something.
No, this is the one about because Tomb Raider was in the 90s, right? So in the game there were all these Lara Croft pin-ups and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And they've just removed them. And what's more, there's that they were in the launch version of the remake, they were present. And then they patched them out.
Yes. No, I was more thinking of the upcoming Tomb Raider game, where it's Lara Croft's apology to her, basically.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody's interested in Lara Croft anymore because they killed her. So
yeah,
like whatever you might think of the gameplay of the most recent ones, the big budget ones, it's not Lara Croft. The character is a different person, and so people don't care. End of story. You basically, like, every time they do one of these deep character reboots, you are flirting with that same thing, right? You're flirting with the same impulse of, oh, it's always been this way. When you reboot a character, you're basically telling people, no, this has always been what the character was.
Yes.
Finally
And
made it.
that's a huge problem from a perspective of engaging the same player base, because the player base knows who Lara Croft is from like Tomb Raiders 1, 2, and 3. They know that person.
Yep.
Changing that person to sort of like this hapless survivor woman who doesn't really raid any tombs most of the time, but just sort of makes grunting and groaning noises a lot. Like, that's not the same person. People don't perceive that to be the same character. Well, why would they? They've got nothing in common other than the name. And so when you reboot it and you try and say, buy this product, this is the reboot of the same old product that you loved so much, you are effectively telling that group of people, oh, well, this was always what Lara Croft was. You're just remembering wrong. You should buy this as well because this is the thing that you like, remember? Like, and people don't trust that kind of thing because it doesn't smell right. And, Lara Croft's IP's popularity fell off a cliff as a result. And this is going to keep happening to franchise after franchise after franchise because nobody learns the lesson, not on a pragmatic level and not on an ideological level, that these things are not compatible with flourishing. These things are not compatible with success. These things are your narcissistic conceits from living in hyper-progressive cities where the only people you ever meet are people who are going to stroke your ego.
Yeah. Maybe, if all your inner circle puts their pronouns in their bio, you might be living in a bubble.
Well, I mean, there are certain companies mandate that now. Like, you're not allowed not to, or you'll get fired.
Gina
Yeah.
Carano says hello. Yeah, that's the reason. Well, I know Disney tries to pad it up really, but that's basically the reason she got sacked from The Mandalorian is she just didn't want to put her pronouns in her bio. That's it.
Yeah,
And
well,
now she's public enemy number one.
They've got ideological conformity to maintain. That's their priority above everything else. I mean, this is the the social engineers logic, right? It's always been the logic. If you look at, it's basically Demolition Man type of thing, right? How old is Demolition Man?
Oh,
Anyway, it's basically the Demolition Man thing, right? It's like they have just decided that the optimal way to run society is enforced harmony, and simply you can't tolerate anything that doesn't fall into that. It's the only thing that's permitted now.
Yeah. Anywho, we should move on, but I'm not sure there's anything else to move on to.
Yeah. I think that's about all we got. There's a chest down here, by the way.
Okay, hang on. Let me get this queue list while I'm here. I just had to switch to Geo Traveler and figure out how to do this.
Get that fire pillar, you hellbeast. Show it who's boss.
That? Huh. I didn't know you could do that.
if I.
Yeah. Oh, got it. It worked anyway.
Did I see any other?
Apparently, you can cast meteors sideways.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember seeing anything else of particular note. Seth did a new video on another game I've never heard of.
I didn't like this one very much. Thought it was kind of boring.
Well, I mean, it's a game for autists. So.
I mean, even his normal autist games, I usually get a chuckle out of him, or at least understand why he's autism and about it. But this one just something about it. I was like, that was not.
I'm actually. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's one I've had on my wish list for a while.
Of course,
regardless,
of course, Fern has had it on his wish list for a while.
Yeah,
I've had games that have been on my wish list for like 10 years now, though. So
it's an autistic civilization builder. Of course, he's had it on his wish list.
Yes.
But yeah, it did apparently see a massive spike in play when Seth did his video,
He's got some
like
reach now.
like 300% increase in the number of people playing it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
Seth is has the unique ability to cut a deal with people that are making games that he's about to make videos about when it's just some random autism game because the team is probably like 3 people. He can just make a sale happen when he launches the
Yeah,
video too. And it
I think
seems
he talks to them, like he sends them because I'm about to make a video on this. Do you guys want to capitalize on it?
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I
the
wonder if
only other
that I
news
wonder if that
story.
email starts with hey people.
I
Hey,
mean,
people.
yes. Of course.
I often introduce myself in instances in MMOs that way just to see if anybody responds in a knowing way.
Yeah.
But,
Although usually the correct response to that would be to say something completely degenerate, but I mean you're in an MMO, so how would you know?
the only other story that has been really big this past week has been the Pokemon Go one.
Oh boy.
You know,
What a dumpster fire.
a lot of people seem to be making a mountain out of a molehill about the Final Fantasy stuff. And then the Pokemon Go thing happened.
I
Wouldn't you
think
like
the
to
problem is usually more than making molehills out of mountains. But yeah, the basically I still have friends who are actively engaged with Pokemon Go.
I've still got it installed actually. I don't hang on. Where's my phone? I need to fix this.
So basically, for no reason whatsoever, they revamped the character generation engine. And the result of it was that everybody's character now is staggeringly uggo.
Mm-hmm. They took gender away as an option, and now you get to instead choose between various type of potato.
I've seen this described as somebody discovered the cylinder tool in Blender and called it a day.
Basically, yeah. There we go. Uninstalled Pokemon Go. That's been on my phone for 8 years since it launched.
So yeah, basically, they revamped the character models. So before you could choose and then add accessories and details to a standard male model or standard female model was more or less it. Now they have multiple body type models with no gender associated with them, and
So nobody's happy.
so no one has any curves, and the only characters that you can really feasibly make are really fat and soy boy. My friend spent a great deal of time tinkering with it and managed to sort of like sort of mostly restore his characters to the way they looked before, because you can tune them back to looking more or less like the original ones with great effort.
Yeah, like the
And
original
lots of
ones were like
manual slider tweaking.
they were very athletic characters, like someone who walks a lot because that's kind of what the game is.
Yeah, the Pokemon trainers, they have to be athletic. Fat Pokemon trainers can't stay fat very long.
They'll lose that weight real quick.
But yeah, you can get them back to the way they were with effort, but it's only a simulacra of them. But there are lots of other weird attributes, like the way that everybody has been normalized to this incredibly androgynous body type that is really ugly. So none of the characters that are formerly female have hips to speak of. They're totally,
Square.
they're ruler shaped. And none of the masculine ones have broad shoulders or muscles of any kind. If you try and make a character that's muscular, it usually just makes them fat. Like
With
really fat.
breasts. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're if you try and make a character that is not a soy boy, the odds of you getting boobs in the process are extremely high. Like, they basically made it impossible to make a character you like, and there are lots of like totally normie people who have no engagement with the culture war, and there is no question in my mind that this is part of the culture war because they basically said it was.
Well, there's one of those DEI companies involved, so yeah.
Well, not only is that DEI company involved, but the people at Niantic are like a bunch of a bunch of sort of like, what's the term, dysgenic looking trannies, basically. I mean, they're based in San Francisco. What do you expect? They've got all the worst people in the world working there. So, yeah, they basically are superimposing their own, quote, preferences, unquote, on the game. And, you know, like I said before, the way that this plays out in practice is not about making it better. It's about hurting the people who already like it. So, yeah, it's definitely a bad move. It's definitely been incredibly poorly received by virtually everybody whose characters are now ugly and they can't stand to look at them.
I've not
And it's
seen a single person to speak in favor of it.
I've seen a lot of like totally disengaged from culture war, totally normal people who are extremely upset because the character that they're really fond of, who they've been playing with for years, now looks really weird and zombified. Because one of the weird aspects of it seems to be that it's washed out everybody's coloration.
Yes.
So everybody's complexion is now just sort of like a weird off grey, instead of, you know, them having skin color at all.
Yeah. Them actually looking, you know, like living
Like-
people.
Yeah, like not corpses. So basically, the short version is literally everything that they did is bad and wrong and bad.
Yeah.
And there's no two ways about it.
You got the upcoming feature ad where they officially revealed the new models, and it's like, here is the old model and here is the new model standing in the doorway like some sort of serial killer. And it's just when you see them side by side, it's like I'd rather the old one. Like that one's got
Yeah, well-
personality and a pulse.
Yeah, like the new ones, they all stand and sort of like I would not be taken aback to see them like T-posing as unanimated model because they're so lifeless.
It's like this is a work in progress. We're not finished with it yet.
Yeah.
It's just generally terrible in every way, and it is, in my opinion, in my incredibly snide and uncharitable opinion, this is them basically living out their fantasy of forcing everybody to become trans. Because
Yeah,
the whole purpose of this this modification has been to remove any kind of you know, sexual distinction, any kind of sexual dimorphism between the characters that existed, because they have decided that sexual dimorphism is a moral wrong.
as is apparently fitness.
Yes, you must be fat or a beanpole, and you must not look male or female, and you must not look like there is any blood flowing in your body. Like they
And that
are
emotion
doing
is
that.
completely foreign concept.
They're doing that thing that always happens whenever people in the art business put something ahead of the art, and that thing is that it looks like a grotesque parody,
Mm-hmm.
and it's totally dead. It's an absolute parody. There's no positives here. There's no reason to release such an objectively bad update. Like this like goes beyond a matter of preference. So I know that I'm of sort of like a philosophically older school of thought, that I don't think that beauty is subjective. I think beauty is objective. People have different preferences, but things are either beautiful or they are not. And there are certain things in common to everybody that everybody thinks is beautiful. Everybody can recognize a sunset as beautiful or whatever. So that means that there's an objective facet to that reality. And I think that this is an objectively bad update, and that everybody who looks at it can see that it is an objectively bad update. So if it gets pushed, it's because it's being pushed for a reason other than being good.
Mm-hmm.
There's they're probably all feet people.
I think feet
Okay.
people are probably a step up from these people.
So, yeah, I honestly doubt they'll have the good grace to admit fault and roll it back.
No, they
Like-
won't roll it back because this is about power.
Yeah, because
It's
that's not what it's about.
Yeah, this is about power. This is about showing they can and you can't stop us. I mean, it's not like you could go play the other Pokemon Go, or not in the literal sense anyway. You could go play the Monster Hunter one, I guess.
Yeah, but you probably should. It is good. It is fun.
So I'm not sure how much better
But-
you'll get if their character creators anything like the actual Monster Hunters. We're still
Yeah,
in the-
but that's sort of like that's Monster Hunter chic, really, in that case.
That is Monster Hunter chic, yeah. You've got to have, no matter what you do, your character must look like a buffalo. It's
Every
just gonna
single
happen.
female character in Monster Hunter has always been a Chungus. If you don't want that, you have to mod it out. There's no way around it. But I mean that makes sense because they're not supposed to be normal people the way Pokemon trainers are supposed to be since the year dot. Pokemon
They're supposed to
trainers
be-
are supposed to be self-insertable. You're supposed to be able to perceive yourself as this. Whereas
Yeah.
in order to hunt monsters, you have to be a certain type of person. And one of the attributes of that certain type of person is often a huge Chungus.
Yeah, you've got to be physically strong
You must be
and able to take
Neanderthal.
a hit. Yes, basically.
You need to be able to take a hit from Devil Joe, not merely a hit.
I mean, I just would like the face to remain unfrying panned until the Devil Joe encounter. That's all I'm
No.
saying.
That's not how we
First-
do things in these parts.
That's not. Besides, you're going to put a bucket on it anyway, so what does it matter?
But like I said, this is about taking something away. Monster Hunter didn't take anything away from anybody when all the characters became Uggo, because all the characters were always Uggo.
I know. I'm just what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But also there's a big chest over here I just got Fern.
Oh, where'd you go? You
It's
went over that way.
It's a precious one.
Ooh. Shiny things! You went the other way. All right. Anything else, or should we start wrapping up? Because we are running late, but we're also running.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
running.
is
Has long gone down.
this is short for us though, aside from the power outage.
Yeah. If you don't show up, we end up doing this show for 5 hours, man.
Yeah.
You need to save us. Stop us from doing that every week.
Yes. So let us start wrapping up then.
Right. Y'all got anything?
No,
No,
that's
not at this
all I've
point.
said. I've had to sort of carry the news content for the week. My throat's starting to get a bit raw.
I am the exhaust. Fluff to the future. Fluff them up. Deep out. I am totally delirious this week, by the way, in case you're wondering why I'm
You have
just...
shit to the brain. You seek help.
No, it's not. Well, sheep brain is maybe a symptom of it, but I've been zonked this week. I'll be less zonked next week, hopefully, and everything should be back to normal then. But until then, we will see you next week. Sayonara.